Good afternoon. Greetings, salutations, welcome, bienvenue, all of the other good stuff. You have arrived at episode or presentation number, I believe it's number 9 of A Beer with the Old Growler. Yes, sir. Today is the second, is it the second day? It better be the second day of April 2020. And my name is Peter LaFrance, and you've arrived, hopefully, to join me in a beer, because here in Brooklyn, New York, in fact, the entire city, they've closed down all of the restaurants, pubs, bars, taverns, beers, holes, watering holes, suds buckets, gin mills, and have left me without a place to go at 5 o'clock. And so here I am, and this is the Old Growler. And what do we do here? Well, hopefully we have a libation now. I have to refresh my vocal cords, and yes, I know this is water, but when in need, that's the deed. I'm gonna first of all start with the growler today. And the growler that we have comes from the waterfront, or the Henry Street Ale House in Brooklyn. And the Henry Street Ale House is where we usually hold our Thursday meeting expectations, beer tasting. And that's where we get together, myself, Jerry Scott, Jim Bennis, and a couple of other regulars, and many of the people who are just the regular customers. We take a look at what is on the label of a can of beer or a bottle of beer. Sometimes a spirit will drop in. And we, just like any consumer, we take a look at it and see what it says. And if what it says is, we take a look at it, open it up, taste it, and if it meets expectations, well, that's the way it is. It does meet expectations. Even a couple of times we've had some disappointments. Now, the beer from the growler today, as I understand it, is in fact, I went in. They're starting to run out of beer, so I went in and I had to. Greetings. It looks like we've got at least 4 folks visiting. I hope you stay and visit and have a beer with me. I'm about to pour my beer. In fact, I've had enough of this yammering. I'm going to crack open a beer right here. I have no idea what it is. I'm going to have to take a look on the receipt, because I was distracted. No, I wasn't. I wasn't paying attention. Here we go. Come on, let's see if we can do this. Oh, that looks like an amber beer. It looks like a pale ale to me. All right. Those of you who are still with me, chin chin, salute, slange, santé, ne pas de babe, and let's have a beer. Well, it's not London Pride. We had that yesterday. Fuller's. I had a wicked flashback. This has got to be a brown ale along the same lines. Let's see. I'm just checking the receipts. That's about the only way I can do it. That's Bar Tabac. Another receipt. Let's see. Maybe this one is. Looks like it might be Henry Street Ale House. And let's see if it's today. I tell you, it is difficult to tell what day it is. It's today the 2nd? Yes, it is the 2nd. And what have I got? I've got an Old Speckled Hen. All right. Well, the Old Speckled Hen, here's cheers to you. Oh, better than the first taste. Well, I'll tell you. Let's see what we are going to try and get around to. I actually try and script this a little bit so that it looks like I know. Hi, Mary. Greetings. Good to see you. Jerry won't be cooking burgers tonight for us, but Mark from the Clark Street Restaurant will be. So we will join you at 6:30 with burgers anyway. Good to see you. I hope I'm coming through okay. Can you we have a sound, what's called a sound check? Sound check. Just let me know that the signal is there and that I'm not terribly overexposed. Well, I'm getting more exposure. There's 4 people here. Monica, Steve and I are here. He had time between lessons and is very excited you're enjoying the speckled hen, one of his favorites. Thank you. Thanks, Steve, for mentioning that. I was going to bring up that next week I'm going to feature at least one day on lagers, different types of lagers. We've got some interesting left as a samples that I've had, and we'll see how they last over time. As we know as beer drinkers, there's 2 things that are the enemies of beer, and that is time. Well, it's 3 actually. Time, heat. It's time and heat. Those are the 2 little and light. Time, heat, and light. The beer does not like either one of those things, unless it's really high in alcohol, and then it loves time. I mean, it needs all the time in the world. So thank you for asking about lager, and that I will. Let's see, we've got Norm. Oh, wall to wall and see. Well, thank you very much, Norm. Good to see you. I saw on your Facebook posting that you've got a special beer that you're drinking tonight. This is, as I say, is the old speckled hen from the ale house over there. It came off a draft, so it's working on its second wind, so to speak. So I'm not holding anything against it. Today we've got at least 2 beers to taste, or at 1 beer to taste for sure. 2, we've got 2 though, and so we might do it. We've got Hubbard's Cave Fresh 1-hop IPA. Hubbard's Cave 1-hop IPA, and they're using Simcoe on this. And it's 8.5% alcohol, and it was, I don't know when it was canned, but the thing is, we have tasted it before at the ale house, and I'll put a link up here so that you can take a look at the tasting that we had in the ale house and see if I come up with a different flavor profile this time, because things always taste different in different atmospheres, as we know. And we also have Great Rhythm Brewing Company from up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We have a Helles Lager. Oh, okay. There we go, Steve. I've got a lager for you. I was all right. Well, we've a Helles Lager for sure. That's going to be an interesting one. We'll crack that one open for sure. All right. Let's see. Where were we? Okay. Oh, yes. Contemplation on a mixed beer. Well, that was that's why I checked the receipt on this to see if it was Old Speckled Hen, because I had started out with, I believe it was a Founders, and the keg ran out, and then it moved to another beer, and that I got maybe halfway through the growler, and that ran out. So I was distracted and not paying attention, and I thought that this was going to be a mixed beer. And but it's not, and it's not a bad one. And again, folks, cheers, cheers. Oh, you know something? As I taste this, it has a smidge of the same caramel flavor that Fuller's London Pride has. And after the Old Growler yesterday, I thought about it, and it's weird. I can anyway. I can recall tastes, and it seemed I was trying to put a name on it. I remember, and it was butterscotch. And butterscotch is a diacetyl, and in most beers, that's considered a very bad thing. But however, in Fuller's London Pride, apparently, it does have a place. So in style, I guess I was educated. And right now, with the Old Speckled Hen here, again, a British beer, a London beer, it's got that same little bit of caramel upfront flavor. It's not a finish. It's right up front. So I'm beginning to understand the style a little bit more, and realize that it could be the base of some wonderful mixed beers, mixed beer drinks. Uh, about, oh, I guess 15 years ago, when I was working freelance, uh, I did an interview at the Tavern, which I believe was on Second Avenue down in the 50s. I might be wrong. I thought I'm ringing it at 52nd Street and maybe Second or Third, but it was it had a nice Irish flavor to it, and if I remember correctly, back then, and we're going back many years, it did have more taps than usual, and that was why I was there. And in talking to the bartender, I said, "Well, I'll have a taste of this and then a taste of that," and he said, "Well, why don't you try it together?" So, he just poured them together and took a taste, and it was they it was like, of course, a third beer, and you had the two flavor profiles working together, very similar, I'm sure, to people who blend malt whiskeys into the blended whiskeys. That is fantastic, is to get those blends, to be able to do that. And so each of these mixed beers was a different flavor profile. And of course, being a good bartender, he was able to add maybe 15 or 20 cents to each of these beers above what would have been the regular cost. So he's getting a little bit more margin. And I thought that was pretty brilliant as well. But mixed beers are something that most people don't do, and I don't know why. But it is one of those things that just it doesn't happen. Gee boy, I ran out of that topic pretty quick. Let's see if I can come up with something else. Yes, I do have the tastings here. That's the truth. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I quite forgot, and they're sitting right here in front of me. I'm going to try and see if I can lift it without screwing things up too much. I'm going to try and give you an idea of what the wall of beers looks like. So I have the wall of beers here. I'm going to try and get the camera up. Here we go. Move that up. Get my hand out of the way. And that, my friend, is the wall of beers. Yes, I know. I'm a very bad technician, but you want to do so many things. That's the wall of beers, the Great Wall of Beers. And what they are, I started collecting these back over 40 years, no, 35 years ago. And there's approximately, I'm guessing, 300 bottles up there, but each one has its own story to tell. Some of them are collector's items, and some of them I really ought to throw out, which is going to give me something to do. But Norm, the thing is, they're not full. They're empty, man. Oh, wow. I should have made that clear. Thanks, Robert. It's good to. It's a big one. And I have some samples today, not samples, but I have bottles, fellows that were up there that made perfect sense when they were introduced. The first one was introduced in 1990. I had just started at Beverage Media magazine as an assistant editor. Assistant something editor, and ended up senior editor. But I just started out, so I was all excited and was go to these press conferences for these beers, and in particular beer, because that was my specialty. The editor, she knew it kind of in a way. The publisher had a vague idea, and the publisher's brother, who actually ran things, he had the real idea. He says, "Okay, cover the beer industry." So I did, and at that time, Miller was looking for new products. They had the Miller Lite was out there. Boy, it was kicking ass and taking names. They had the great commercials with the less filling, less calories, more filling, more filling, less taste, and the old sports stars. And then so they had a real brainstorm. They said, "Boy, you know something? Everything's going light. We've got an idea." Okay, here it is. You're not going to believe this. Miller Clear beer. Huh? Miller Clear beer. Okay. Now, if I was looking on a label, just trying to figure things out, if I was a consumer, I would see Miller Clear is specially brewed from the finest malted barley, selected cereal grains, and choicest hops. Or did I just scare a bunch of people? Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Norm. Sorry, Robert. And yeah, no, Mary, it doesn't. It does. That's yeah. It's aged. They say that the things that are bad, beer doesn't like light, and believe me, this has seen the light. No, it hasn't seen the light. Uh, yeah. Well, there you go, Monica. It exists. Take a screenshot of that. Yeah, that's the truth, isn't it? Well, the funny part was that being a good journalist that I was, I went up to the rep that was there, that was handing out these beers. They had them in nice little bottles or glasses, I'm sure. And you know, what was my impression? And I looked at the guy and I says, "Well, it looks like water." And he says, "Oh, but yeah, but if you taste it, it tastes like beer." And I was at a loss. I truly was at a loss because if as we all know, if you look at something and you're expecting something, if it's clear, you're expecting no flavor and a water. You know, I mean, so why clear? Why? That's the question was why. And they said because it was going to appeal to the light market. Uh-huh. A light market. Now, no offense. I mean, I understand light calories. I can dig that. And however they put carbohydrates in beers, I don't know. But if they can lower carbohydrates, as they say in the South, God bless their hearts, and anything else. But there's two flavors that are necessary, and there's also something else that's necessary, and that is appearance. So that was, as we know, was an incredible bomb. Yeah, oh yeah, Zimmer. Oh, the people at Coors tried to come out with that, and I do believe that the really funny part for me was that I understand that a Yiddish term for a cuckold is a Zimmer. So I think that they didn't really research. They didn't research the name too well. And speaking of not researching, oh, I've got a classic here. Okay. I need some more beer. Oh, now, if I was at the watering hole, boy, I would have had at least another half a pint there. But whoa, no top. Oh, that's right. I was okay. Have another beer, Peter, and the rest of you, please have another beer. We got 5 people here, and so I'm getting some thumbs up. I thank you folks very much for that. That really is that's great. Okay, we're talking beer and marketing, which is always a fun thing to talk about for me, anyways. And here we go. Cheers. Some old speckled hen in your eye. Oh, it doesn't present well at all, Norm. Not at all. And I tell you, I've got one for you that's really going to knock your socks off. Okay. Again, and this was a little bit later. It had to have been 91, maybe, because I'd already cut my teeth and I was able to pick and choose as to what events I would go to, and the Dragon Lady would, you know. But that was the way it was, but it was the beginning of the end. But it was fun. I enjoyed working. Oh, geez, working at Beverage Media, I learned more about putting together a magazine, putting together a publication, how to design pages. It was a crash course, boy, and it was nasty, but it was fun. It was fun. And one of the fun parts was going to press conferences. Well, the French had been studying the marketing, especially off-premise marketing. And they were all excited because off-premise marketing for beer at the time, and well, again, 1991, was pretty high. I mean, it was not the bar scene had not quite taken off to what it is now in major cities, so people were still buying a good deal of off-premise, and particularly in grocery stores. And oh, the French followed this. Boy, they said, "Wow, here's a market." So they took a look at who was buying, and they saw that it was predominantly, according to the research that they got from the grocery store, the Grocery Association, National American Grocery Association, and I forget what other professional group it was, but they're the one that keeps statistics on SKUs, shelf keeping units, as SKUs, shelf keeping units. All of the different things that go into on the shelves. And they noticed that most of the people who were buying beer in the grocery stores were women. So they said, oh, wow, here's a market. And of course, at the same time, light beer was coming out for women, or light beer was reaching its peak. It had come out many years before, but it was reaching its peak at that time. And Coors had come out with their light beers. There was light beer here, light beer here, light beer there, light beer everywhere. And so the French figured, well, okay, light beer for women. Now, but maybe if we added some fruit, maybe some apricot or something like that, that might appeal to women. You know, they like the fruity kinds of beers. They like them in Belgium. I mean, we've seen that over that border. And over here, sometimes they'll put some little fruit in their beer. So let's really appeal to the women. Let's add fruit to it. And that way, maybe it'll be specific to women. And, the men can have their market, but we'll expand the women's market. Okay, that's great. So you've got a market, you've got women, you've got a special thing that you're going to give them, which is the fruit in the beer, which identifies that as kind of a feminine, female type of a thing. Okay, now the next part was a real stretch, and that the thing is that at the time, on the telephone lines in Paris, in France, and I'm not too sure how this worked, but bear with me. If you dialed 3615, it was kind of like an erotic phone thing. You could, whoever was on the other end would pick up, and you could breathe heavy and whatever you wanted to do. So that was they were all excited about that. So it meant you added a bit of erotic. So you had women, so we're going to buy this. You had fruit in it that was going to attract women, and you had this titillation of this erotic. Okay. Now look at how they packaged it. Where do you see how they packaged it? This is a real treat. They packaged it like this. Now, come on, kids. If you're going to do any research at all, don't package it like this. I mean, well, it's la bière amoureuse, Bécher, peach, of course, brewed and bottled by the Fisher in Schultzheim, France. Well, naturally, this lasted about as long as some of the other mysteriously disappearing beers. But those are two examples of beers from the beer wall. And I got a bunch of them up there. We have 5 folks here. Oh, well, welcome, everybody. It's a little bit, what is it, 5:23, 5:20? Oh, my word, it's getting on. Let's get at least one tasting done, okay? Because I like to hello there. Don't get excited. I'm okay. Got a little breezy there. No, I want to get at least one of these done because, as I say, I like to have people click on the link above to see what the original tasting was like. So I'm going to go with the suggestion was to have a lager. So here we do. We've got a lager, a Helles lager. Let's see what it says on here so that we can see if it meets expectations. Okay, up on top here it says, drink great beer. Okay. And over here, drink great beer. Great rhythm. Oh, I see. Great beer. Great rhythm. Marketing. Great Rhythm Brewing Company. And this is 12 fluid ounces. It is 5% alcohol by volume. and it's got all the government regulation good stuff on here. And it says, let's take a look. Oh, this looks like it. Brewed and canned by the Great Rhythm Brewing Company. We don't get too much more information other than the alcohol content, but is a Helles lager. Now, what am I expecting with a Helles lager? Helles has got a little bit more body. It's not quite a Dortmund or it's not quite a Kolsch. Kolsch has really got a lot of body to it, but it will be a light-bodied, probably refreshing lager with a little bit of hops in the nose, probably a little bit more in the flavor of the beer. So let's see what we have. Let's crack this open and see if it meets expectations. Okay, there we go. Whoops. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. You folks can see a lot easier than I can because the light is coming through the camera, and as you can see, it looks a little hazy. That's my first impression. It does look a little hazy, although the head is holding on, and this is a wine glass, so it really should. It's not quite as clean as a beer clean glass, so it might be losing its head a little quickly, but that shows that there is a lot of, to me, it shows there's a lot of protein in there. And I'll see the aroma. I am getting some hop, but it's not overpowering. It's a okay. What type of aroma would I say that was? I'm getting a little pear actually, so that's kind of funny. But it's not illogical because the esters that the hops give off do give a little bit of fruit. But for a lager, that's interesting. And the first taste. There is a particular sweetness to this that is a little unexpected. It's not as effervescent as I expected. It is a little bit of a hop missing to it. I'm not too sure. Perhaps I'm guessing now that this might be a little old. We would have to check again the date on the tasting notes that we did before. And it did survive a trip in a motor vehicle, but it was in a container. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't. This one does not meet expectations. I was expecting something a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more crisp. So there we go, Steve. Thanks for asking, but so we've all learned a little bit about that particular beer, and again, it might have been I might have abused it, although I doubt that. I try very hard not to abuse any of my beers. They're all near and dear to me. They all bring in the money. No, they don't. Well, made the old speckled hen taste better. So we're at almost 5 past, and we've got still 4 people here, and now 4 thumbs up. Oh yeah, yeah. I just had a chance to recheck on there, Mary, talking about the 3615 beer bottle. She's seen it on the wall, of course. My daughter, Mary, has seen it on the beer wall here, and wondered what it was. Well, there's the full story. I'm glad this isn't commercial television because I do have a story about Guinness. When they tried to introduce a combination, we're talking. Oh, well, I might as well. For those of you who are still hanging out, I have another mixed drink, a mixed beer drink to tell you about. We'll leave you with that because that's probably one of the best ways to do it. Again, this was probably in 1991 because I had been at Beverage Media for a while. No, Mary's not on the beer wall. Mary lived here and saw the beer wall. Beer wall's not big enough to hold her. Okay, mixed beer drinks. 1991, as I said, I was still at Bev Media. I was feeling my oats there and kind of relaxed, having a good time. And they asked me to go to a Guinness presentation. And they had just started to bring in cider. And it was called Woodpecker cider. And Woodpecker cider came in. It was in bottles, it was in cans, and it was on draft. And they figured it would be tough to break in a product without having at least some coattails to ride in on. And of course, Guinness, there you go. Guinness is a well-known beer. It's known all over the world. It's immediately recognizable. If you tag this cider with it, it'll sell like crazy. Oh boy, the Irish had it all figured out. Yes, sir, that's what they did. So they called us into the conference room, and they had a grand display, all covered over, and you could see that one side was the Guinness bottles, and probably the other side was the Woodpecker bottles. Yes, they were all set, and they had the colors and the whole thing, and they had a big, a display to show the label that was going to be put on this. So yes, so they were excited. So they came in, they gave us the history of Guinness, and they told us the new history of this Woodpecker cider and how they was going to market it and everything. They were all excited. Oh, they were beside themselves. And they said, we decided to combine the two. We're going to have Guinness get together with Woodpecker cider, and we're going to combine it into a drink that is we're going to be breaking here in America. You're all going to love it. Here, take the banner away, and we're going to show you the new label for a hard black pecker. Well, that didn't go over so good. No, it didn't. And needless to say, a few Americans had to explain this to the poor Irishmen. They didn't understand that probably was not one of the best marketing plans for the United States. I swear to God, Monica, it was. I would have loved to have saved the PR stuff from that, but when I left my desk at Beverage Media, it wasn't pleasant. So what can I say? But look it up. In fact, I'll have to double cross-reference that. But it was, oh geez, that was it. So anyways, on that note, I want to thank everybody who's still here, and thank you all for showing up and having a beer with me. And if you have any comments, please either contact me directly, Peter LaFrance, Peter.LaFrance at beerbasics.com, or you can leave in the comments box below, or you can contact me via Facebook. So thank you very much. Norm, it was good to see you. Monica, have a good one. Mary, Dave, Steve, Solange, cheers, na zdrovia, and see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot.